Now, I'm honest. I have no problem with letting you guys know what my agenda is and sharing this story. For starters, I think it's important to highlight when stuff like this happens. It happens a lot more often than a lot of people want to give folks credit because the mainstream, certainly that media, they don't just gravitate towards it like they would, let's say, a mass shooting in that sense, even though stuff like this happens all of the time. So I want to get that out the way because I know there's going to be people in the comments acting, like I have an agenda. I absolutely do. I'm just being 100 with you. I want to highlight this because I don't think it gets covered enough. Now, going on to it, this is in Houston. This is also why I wanted to talk about this because I'm out of Texas. And as reported by ABC, I'll put the link in the description if you're reading this on, or if you're watching this on YouTube. A woman shot and wounded a suspect robber who reached for her purse. It happened around 2:30 a.m. Tuesday on Creek Bend at 400 in Southwest Houston. Excuse me. Police say Lachelle Hudgens, which is the lady's name, had just parked her vehicle outside her home when two men reached through her driver's side window and grabbed her purse. Before they could take it, Hudgens frantically reached into her bag and grabbed her gun. I couldn't do anything except scream. At one point, they told me to stop screaming, and he reached his hand inside my car. And she goes on and says, it was all I had in my gun. I shot until I couldn't shoot anymore. And they found the suspect shot like on the other side of the complex. He got jacked up. And she says she saved her life. Now, this is why, specifically for women, and this is what gets me about these blue check mark leftists, quite often they are guarded by a bunch of people with guns, right? But they act like this is just some white male thing, right? This whole people realizing the importance of guns. This is why they completely ignore me. I talked about this with that one guy. I don't want to mention his name, but if you follow me on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A fellow guy that's in the sort of metalcore scene, in which he posted a status saying that the only people that seem to be in opposition to his stance on gun control and gun rights or whatever, it has some white men, right? And then I said, hey, I'm in the same scene as you, and I'm probably I'm loudest about the importance of gun rights and gun ownership. They're more on the grass in the background, so I'm sorry if you hear that. And he just plugged his ears. It was like, I don't want to talk to you, basically. And you can go see that. It's on my Twitter. But people act like this is just some white male issue, and it's not. I would say it's way more important, even for women, not only to be armed, but to understand how to use it like she did. Know where it's at and how to fire that bad boy. And that's important. It's just important. Like, she's 230, maybe I don't know, I think there's a video, by the way, and she talks more about it. I don't remember if she said anything about where she was coming from. But, people get home from work, they work late, have overnight jobs, live in rougher sides of, the town, you know what I mean, where people are, they're more subject to being robbed. So it's important for people, definitely women, because those are going to, they're going to be the target because they see them as weak, to be armed and know how to use it. So I wanted to cover this story. I want you guys to understand that this stuff happens a lot. It may not get covered. And this is the reality. I talk about this with media stuff, with racism as well, and how if you go by what media alone, mainstream, and what social media trending topics are, you would think that the world is in turmoil, or more so like American culture. And that is, everybody's out to get each other. Black people can't walk down the street without being called N-words and being attacked, so forth. It's, ongoing race wars about to ensue. But if you just get off the internet and you go about your everyday life, you know that it's nothing like that. For the most part, there'll be individuals that want to dramatize it, Jesse Smollett, lie, Jussie Smollett. But if you think about throughout the given day, definitely if you live in somewhere like Houston, there's no way around because it's so culturally diverse. There's almost no way around speaking to people that are of a different culture. Maybe if they're even of the same race, but certainly of different race. Different race. You're gonna speak to people of different races, ethnic backgrounds, genders, whether it be going to the store, work, so forth. And you think about all the cordial conversations that you are in, the cordial that doesn't end in any sort of violence, anything. You would think that that's just doesn't happen if you just watch the media. Why? Because they highlight and dramatize isolated events. And they bury even, you got to go to the local media to try to find instances like, for example, what I just covered, where you think, if you didn't live here, I get this all the time. What is it about Americans and their gun culture? There are people are getting shot, mass shootings every single day. First of all, they don't understand. They don't ever put into context how big the United States, how different it is, culturally diverse. These people are going these like ethnically homogenous towns and states that don't even have as much bigger population as the DFW, and they're like, well, it never happens here. Like, fool. I'm pretty sure I could find somewhere that has in America in a geographical area that has just as many people, but doesn't have as much violence on average as you would maybe consider. America's a big place, dude. It's a big place, and when you consider different states, it's just different, right? And culturally, it's different. But nonetheless, if you just were paying attention to what media said and you lived out, let's say, out the country, you think that it was just chaos here. Everybody's getting shot. You got fear for your life, and it's not like that. It is not like that. It is not like that. In the same thing where you do hear those instances that are violent, you hear about people being killed innocently. You also hear about people defending themselves, just not as much. Why? Because that doesn't fit the narrative that they're trying to paint. Now, y'all know my position. All gun laws are infringements. I think it should be way easier to get a gun than what it actually is. And I don't think people understand how difficult it actually is to get one legally, as in not have the state use aggression upon you for having it, is what I mean. Yeah, anybody can get a gun illegally in that sense. The criminals, by criminals, I'm using that in the term that people that want to use aggression upon people's persons and property, like the people that try to rob this young lady. They don't give a goddamn about your gun laws. Those gun laws are strictly for people that just go about their lives, minding their business. You just make it more difficult for them. You are not stopping any of these asshats from wanting to being able to get control of a weapon and use it. Simple as that. But I really encourage you, no matter if you're in America, you're out of America, if you pay attention to even like the local news a lot more, you would see that there's a lot more instances of this. It's not just people that are advocates for gun rights aren't just pulling this out of their behind when they say people are defending themselves. They want guns to be able to defend themselves from criminals, protect themselves and their family. It's not just something pulling out their behind. Obviously, have aspirations of doing, but also in a sense, you got to understand that there's so many examples in which this actually happens. It just does not. This story is not going to make it on front page headline news on CNN. It's not. Well, they're covering it every for five, 6 hour cycles nonstop. That's not going to happen. Instances like this, it won't. But a bunch of people get killed innocently. You're not going to hear the end of it. All the politicians are going to grandstand. Everybody's talking about we have to do something. Just put it in context and also open your eyes. Go out there and live, and you will see that life ain't really what these people are trying to portray it as, at least mainstream media publications and news.